What's going on, everybody? My name is Dodge Gaming and welcome back to my, bi-weekly now Spotlight series. Today we tackle yet another genre, but instead of the ever trustworthy FPS, RPG or open world games, we'll be covering 2017's offering of indie games. There have been some prime examples over the years with stellar titles such as Castle Crashers, The Binding of Isaac, The Swapper, Spelunky, and many, many more besides. Before I get into it, the following 5 titles are in no means listed in order, but I will try and get my personal favourite up at the top spot, so stick around for that. Also, I really wanted to put Strafe on here again, but seeing as it was in my FPS video, I did decide against it. So without further ado, I'll get straight into these 5 titles. Like and subscribe if you enjoy it, and we'll get straight into it. First up at number 5 is Below. Capybara Games' title Below would probably be first on this list if it hadn't a firmed release date. Now I still put it in as it is widely hoped that it'll get a 2017 release date, although if it does, it'll be really late down the line. Below is a game based on roguelike game tendencies, essentially a dungeon crawler with very tough but fair combat. Especially designed to be difficult, Below also includes permadeath like so many other roguelike games before it, along with looting and procedurally generated levels. All of this sounds pretty awesome, and roguelike games as a genre is something that's sort of died out over recent years, especially with more cinematic entries doing so well, like the amazing Firewatch. However, the last announcement about Below was that its development had been indefinitely put on hold somewhere during mid-2016. People have theorised that Capybara Games might have bitten off more than they could chew in terms of the sheer amount of effort it might take to make a procedurally generated game with the art style that we've seen on show, and the budget that indie games are understandably restricted to. Loyal to roguelikes of the past, there's very little narrative story on show and Below. Instead, much of the story is portrayed on an abstract basis through the environment. Sounds weird, but many games employ this method of backstory, with the most recent examples being Destiny and Dark Souls, with their readable lore making up much of the story. With Below, most of the stuff you see will be suggestive, seemingly allowing viewers to figure things out for themselves. Below is all about gameplay though, with hard combat, permadeath, looting, crafting and exploration. Whether Below is released this year, here's hoping, or 5 years from now, it's going to be a great title, and it's also an Xbox Windows exclusive, which is something I don't get to say very often. Up next at number 4 is something I'm not quite sure how to pronounce. I'm going to go with I-tier. I-tier? I-tier? It's one of those. I'm going to go I-tier, that sounds better. We've had an Xbox exclusive, so it's only fair to include a PlayStation exclusive now. I-tier is a 2D isometric action RPG. There's a long description, so think of it this way. It's Dark Souls, but with retro graphics, a fixed camera view, and it's very indie. By that, I mean it's been developed by 2 people, but actually looks great. It's very unabashed about its comparisons to Dark Souls, as it features challenging combat that showcases dodging, sprinting, blocking, and parrying, along with a stamina bar, refillable health potions, and campfires, obviously. However, it does more than enough to stand by itself as well. It features a cool little thing upon death that is essentially a roulette wheel that can either be kind to you or not. For instance, you might lose some health potions, or if you've had a particularly tough time, pick up a temporary damage or health buff, just for instance. It also features a loot system, which is more like a Diablo-esque affair, that causes dead foes to drop various pieces of armour and different types of weapons upon death. The art style is dark and pixelated, but at the same time unique, gorgeous, and perfectly suited to the theme. Overall, I-tier is sounding and looking great in theory, but it's been delayed a couple of times and, much like Below, seems to have bitten off quite a few different chunks of other games. Whether it can consistently meld them together to create a satisfying experience does remain to be seen, but at the moment it's looking very promising and already has a strong following. Third on this list, and some people are going to say it probably should have been higher, is Yooka-Laylee.
Yeah.
It's made by some of the key people from Rare, and that is essentially all you should need to know, to be honest. The pedigree is so strong from that company. In all seriousness, Yooka-Laylee is looking like a great laugh, taking God knows how many cues from the platform collectathon games of old. The nostalgia just pours out of me watching the gameplay, and it's rare that I'll be grinning ear to ear just watching a trailer. Built as a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, the player controls two different characters at the same time, a chameleon named Yooka and a bat known as Laylee. Who could have seen that one coming? Essentially, you're using their separate skills to navigate around delightfully designed platformy levels, and that's the name of the game. The abilities vary, but all drain a power meter that can be restored by collecting butterflies, which can also be eaten to restore health if the situation calls for it. It's kind of weird, but kind of cool as well. There is a plot, but I don't actually really care about it, in all honesty. Much like I can't remember the stories of Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, or any other games of that nature, it's instead the gameplay that will stick with the person here. And Yooka-Laylee is looking to have nailed it with 3D platforming, regular boss battles, obligatory 2D sections, hidden arcade games, and more. It also supports 2-player local co-op and 2 to 4-player local PvP multiplayer revolving around minigames. It's unclear as to whether Yooka-Laylee will eventually support online play. Hopefully that is something they pick up. Releasing for Xbox One, PS4, PC, Mac, and eventually the Switch, Yooka-Laylee looks charming, memory-invoking, and best of all, fun. Something that is so often forgotten in modern game development. Second on this list, and it had to appear on here somewhere, didn't it, is Cuphead. I'm not the only one excited for Cuphead. In fact, strangely, among a relatively hefty Xbox lineup that features titan games like Crackdown, Forza, Halo, Gears of War, and Tomb Raider, Cuphead has remained very high on many critics' most anticipated lists. It's actually not that hard to see why either. In the current generation of games, side-scrolling shooters are essentially dead in the water, or at least those that are good enough to stand up in the limelight for any length of time. Cuphead is one of these. In fact, it's actually something I've never quite seen before. It delightfully takes a 1930s style of animation and then hands you the controls. It actually looks and feels like you're playing a cartoon. It's that beautifully recreated. In fact, I've read that one of the two developers behind Cuphead, previously a graphic designer, hand drew all the animations and hand painted the backgrounds himself, with colour work being done later in Photoshop. Aside from using Photoshop, the only other difference from original 30s cartoons is the frame rate, with Cuphead running at a strong 60 frames per second, thankfully. Indie games are commonly known for their unique and gorgeous art styles though, with Ori and the Blind Forest, Firewatch Journey, Limbo, and many others all being amazing to look at. What makes an indie game truly great though is the gameplay. While I haven't had the fortune to sit down and play Cuphead yet, everyone agrees on one thing: Cuphead is hard. Side-scroller shooters and other platformers have historically been challenging, sometimes, despite appearances. I'm looking at you, Rayman, you were a bastard. But Cuphead transforms this notion into a frenetic, reflex-based experience that doesn't slow down like ever. It's perhaps for this reason that you have infinite lives and get to keep your weapons after death, because you will die, and you will die a lot. Described as an exercise in patience as much as in skill, Cuphead holds great pride in its strange and ever-differing boss fights, in fact aiming to beat the record for bosses in this style of game, with over 30 on offer, supposedly. Cuphead presents itself as a challenging, fast and fun run-and-gun side-scroller that shows impressive dedication to its source materials and inspiration, and essentially comes in as a tie for top spot on this particular list, as it's one of the first games in a long time that has struck me as truly, truly unique. But someone had to grab top spot, and even though this does tie with Cuphead, I gave it to Rhyme. First announced way back in 2013, Rhyme was originally a PS4 exclusive. However, after its first reveal, nearly 3 years went by without a peep from Sony or its original developers. In 2016, it turns out it had new owners, Tequila Works, and they announced it would be launching on all platforms in 2017. I was inevitably drawn to Rime because of its stunning cel-shaded graphics, likened to Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and other such art styles. After that, however, with the new gameplay being shown, I was pulled in by its sense of mystery and discovery. Rime follows most other modern indie titles in that there isn't a standard narrative story on show. Instead, it gently guides you through ever more challenging sets of puzzles and platforming sequences as you explore more and more of the island that you're trying to leave. Standard platforming tropes are on show, with climbing, jumping and environmental manipulation being used to get you around. Looking similar to the 2016 open world puzzler The Witness, kinda had semi-good reception overall. Rime's graphical prowess is easy to see, with stunning vistas and larger than life colour schemes that will really make you stop, look and think. There aren't many games that actively make you look around and soak in the world that you're stuck in, with Firewatch being the last indie title to do this to me. There's more to Rime than just good graphics and puzzles though, as cutscenes and exploration are present as well, which is great because not enough indie games employ cutscenes just to enhance the experience. Rime seems to capture the childlike incentive to just wander off and explore brilliantly, and has definitely managed to capture the hearts and eyes of those willing to try out games that lie off the beaten track away from AAA releases. Assuming it doesn't get stuck in development hell for any reason, Rime is due for release on the 26th of May for most consoles, with a summer release coming for the Switch. I personally cannot wait to get lost in the world that Rime has created. That is going to be the end of today's Spotlight video though, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. I really did love researching upcoming indie games, and there are borderline hundreds on this year's horizon. In fact, this generation overall has done a great job of representing indie games and indie developers. The 5 I've talked about though are my personal pick of the bunch. If you disagree with anything I've said or would have liked to have seen other titles on this list, let me know in the comments below and I'll try and get them in a follow-up video. Otherwise, subscribe if you like what you heard today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I've been Dodge Gaming, you've all been awesome, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace! She looked at me, and this is what she said. Oh, there ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees. I got